Joining us. 3 new ambassadors have presented their letters of credence to His Excellency President Adama Barrow at a colorful ceremony at Fajara. The ambassadors all pledged to work hard to strengthen relations between their respective countries and the Gambia. Mahmoud Jallo reports.
The ambassador of the Emirate of Kuwait, His Excellency Saleh Ali Al-Sakabi, was the first to arrive at the presidency for the symbolic ceremony and was welcomed by an honor guard mounted by the newly formed Presidential Quarter Guards. He later proceeded, escorted by officials, to present his credentials to President Barrow. Kuwait and the Gambia have had a long-standing relationship, and Ambassador Al-Sakabi said he will work hard to enhance this decades-long relationship.
This is just a formal meeting. I can, I raise the regard of the Emir to Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jabir Sabah, the Emir of the State of Kuwait, and I congratulate the President on the democratically oriented election which took place in Gambia, and it was noticed by the whole international community, and we wish Gambia all the best, and I assured him that we have a long relationship with Gambia through the Kuwaiti Fund, which is the liaison office, and I assured him that we will continue to support the Gambian government in any way we can.
Then followed the ambassador of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, His Excellency El Hassan Muhammad Awan, who is just beginning his tour of duty. Ambassador Awan also reaffirmed his commitment to strengthen and broaden the historic ties between Nouakchott and Banjul.
We all know that Gambia and Mauritania has historical relationship since so long ago. And then the presidents of Mauritania has shown that Gambia and Mauritania are all one. That's why during the impasses, Mauritanian presidents has played a great role to solve the problems which was existing in Gambia in that time. Now the two presidents are working hard to strengthen the relationship between the two countries.
The High Commissioner of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Olusegun Ibidapo Obi, finally completed the list of diplomats to present credentials to the Gambian leader. Nigeria played a leading role in ending the political crisis that threatened the Gambia's socio-political stability, and High Commissioner Obi reassured that the Federal Republic of Nigeria will continue to play a leading role in consolidating stability and democracy in the sub-region.
Dictatorship all over the world is no longer fashionable. Everybody depends on democratic governance. Everybody wants the rule of law. Everybody wants transparency in governance. So for as far as we are concerned, and of course in collaboration with the Gambia, we will always insist that once there is the will of the people expressed through the ballot box, it needs to be upheld, whoever that might affect.
On bilateral cooperation, the Nigerian diplomat pledged to deepen technical cooperation with the Gambia in the fields of education and the judiciary.
Since 1965, we've been collaborating with the Gambia in virtually all facets of development. The President mentioned the areas of education, health, jurisprudence. We're in the process of deploying teachers, nurses, lawyers to the Gambia under the frame of the Technical Aid Corps. So we've always been virtually in all aspects that you can think of.
Mahmoud Jallo, GRTS News.
The Commission of Inquiry into the financial transactions of the former president and his business associates Tuesday looked into the $6.7 million loan agreement between the government of the Gambia and the Exim Bank of India. Yero Jallo was there and filed in this report.
The first to appear before the Joint Commission of Inquiries this morning was the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Trade and Industry, Nafi Bari. She was summoned in relation to an agreement between the government of the Gambia and the Exim Bank of India amounting to $6.7 million for the procurement of 500 Mahindra tractors.
Prior to leaving, I think a day or two before we left, the minister indicated that he was not going anymore for whatever reasons. I didn't know why he didn't go, but he was not able to attend the conclave. So I was to go with Keba Toure. So he issued, he wrote to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, a power of attorney was issued for me to sign, and he also wrote a letter of authorization asking me to sign the loan on his behalf, which I did. I have the letters.
Okay, you have the letters there?
Yes, I do.
She acknowledged being part of a delegation that went to India for the signing of a loan agreement. She, however, told the Commission that she had no knowledge of the fate of the 500 tractors after their passage. Testifying on a similar issue before the Janet Commission was the former Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Agriculture, Surwa Jaite, who admitted signing on behalf of his ministry for the passage of 500 tractors. He, however, informed the Commission that his contract was terminated before the arrival of the tractors.
We are summoned to the President's office and explained that we'll be taking a trip to India to sign for 500 Mahindra tractors for the government of the Gambia. Okay, when we are in India, we are met by the Gambian consul who accommodated us and gave us a program of activities. And this program of this, we started by visiting the Sonalika workshop and the manufacturing enterprises, discussed with the people, and then went also to Mahindra, and then had, as a group, we had a final assessment of what we saw based on the specifications.
Okay. Yeah. So what happened after that?
Then after that, we came with a decision. Of course, this was already pre-decided, but we came with a confirmed decision that Mahindra would be providing the government with the tractors.
Reappearing before the Janet Commission were officials of the Gambia Ports Authority who were summoned to shed light on the procurement of 4 new ferries by the government in 2011. They include the Managing Director of GPA, Abdullah Tambedu, the Senior Manager, Technical Services, Keba Mane, and the former Managing Director of GPA, Mohamed Lamin Jiba, respectively. The last to testify before the Janet Commission was the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Lands and Regional Government, Boba Sanyang, who was recalled to shed light on the land given to the Gambia Milling Corporation. Sittings continue tomorrow.
The Minister of the Interior, Mai Ahmed Fati, recently took part in the second ordinary session of the Special Steering Committee of African Ministers responsible for migration and movement and issues of internally displaced persons. Minister Fati sat down with GRTS Samuel Ba to preview the outcomes of the Kigali meeting. Here's an excerpt.
3 fundamental issues were discussed at Kigali. First, we look at the revised protocol of the African Economic Community, what is usually called the Abuja Treaty of 1991, which came into force in 1994. We also looked at the Global Compact on Migration, which emerged out of the New York Declaration, as a result of which there were intergovernmental discussions leading to what is now called the Global Compact on Migration. Africa wanted a common position in negotiating the Global Compact, and that position was also discussed and drafted and adopted by the second organization in Kigali, and we ended up adopting what is called CAP, the Common African Position on the Global Compact on Migration. The third issue we looked at had to do with an amendment to the protocol, that is the Treaty on African Economic Community. Thousands of our citizens passed through Libya, the desert, and we still have hundreds of them in detention camps in Libya, and they are trapped in very, very bad and poor conditions. We've had incidents where Gambian returnees from Libya, voluntary returnees from Libya, came with gunshot wounds, some of them in very bad health conditions, very decrepit physical circumstances. And they gave harrowing details of how they were badly treated and brutalized in Libya. The responsibility of every government is to protect and look after the welfare of citizens, whether they are at home or in the diaspora. Every Gambian must feel the protective mechanism of the state. And so we have our citizens in Libya. It was an opportunity. We're talking about migration in Africa. We're talking about integration. We're talking about elimination of borders and right of residence, and right of establishment. And Libya is key in all of these things. So it was necessary for me to express these concerns and to engage the Libyan authorities directly on the problems our citizens are facing in their country.
Honorable Mai Ahmed Fati there speaking to GRTS Samelba. Now, the 5-day pre-session training for oversight committees of the National Assembly continues in Tendaba camp in the Lower River region. And as Lumendi reports, MPs have held the timing of the convergence.
The end of day 2 of the pre-session training for oversight committees of the National Assembly is greeted with astonishing comments by beneficiaries of the capacity building, particularly those MPs new in the parliamentarian work.
For us to effectively do our job, there has to be this bill, and I want to put it up in the National Assembly, that we have a bill. We put it mandatory on every department and every ministry in the Gambia at the end of every year to submit their programs and policies to the National Assembly, to the relevant committees, so that we committees will use that as a measuring tool.
From yesterday till this evening, all the presentations are relevant, because if you look at it, they are all going to impact in the work we are going to do. Like you may be aware, I am in one of those 6 committees that will be performing a rollout immediately from this training. Yesterday we have this Mr. Job, who made a presentation on some of the issues that you will need to look at when it comes to institutions presenting their financial statement. We've also learned about the do's and the don'ts of the select committee. So I believe this have really equipped us with the knowledge that we require, because it's going to be our first time rolling out the training.
I'm a member of the PEC committee, and very soon these, in how to call it, public institutions will be coming before us to present their reports. And this training will guide me and then help me so that I can gauge their reports.
One of the oversight responsibilities of lawmakers is to hold public institutions and agencies responsible for their actions by scrutinizing their audited annual activity reports and financial statements for the purpose of accountability and transparency as custodians of public funds.
Each institution have a mandate, and then this mandate are legally binding. They even pass through Parliament. That Parliament will look at it. This is the mandate of this institution. This is how you should do to benefit the masses, the Gambian people. So this is why the Parliament, we have committees that are overseeing oversight, because one of our functions is oversight, to make sure each institution you do your work according to the way the Act spell out your work, so that at least at the end of the day, if you follow the Act, because it passed through Parliament, scrutinized, at the end of the day, the end result will be a benefit to the Gambian people.
Meanwhile, here in Tendaba camp, the first-timers in the National Assembly are tapping the wisdom of veteran colleagues in the likes of Sidia Jatta, the MP for Woolly West, who is basking on over 2 decades of experience in the domain.
At one time, we had an induction workshop in Palm Grove. I saw 2 gentlemen sitting down. I asked the speaker, I said, who are these men? They kept quiet. I said, who are these men? If you don't answer me, I am going out. They say, and I said, they must go out or I will go out. And they had to go out. No security person has anything to do with the functions of the National Assembly. This is the fact which must be established and which must be practiced. People must be free. People must have the feeling that they are free to play their oversight role. Otherwise, we are just begging the truth.
Day 2 of the pre-session training for oversight committees of the National Assembly was also characterized by a series of presentations on topics designed to further prepare MPs for their oversight functions. This presentation on financial statement presented by Kalamba Toure, the Auditor General, was meant to educate MPs on what to expect from the audited financial statements of public institutions and agencies when they appear before them for scrutiny for the purpose of accountability and transparency. Louis Mendy, GRTS.
Destination Gambia hopes for an outstanding 2017-2018 tourist season. As more flight arrivals are expected during the course of the holiday period, the latest of this is the maiden flight of 2 from Holland, which on Monday night landed at the Banjul International Airport with 176 holiday makers. Modi Bajan was there, and this is his report.
Following the arrival of the first flight of the 2017-2018 tourist season, more flights are coming into destination Gambia, the latest of which is TUI from Holland. This flight, we understand, is carrying on board 176 tourists who are just coming out of the airplane. We'll be speaking to those coming to the Gambia, as well as tourism officials, marketing director of Gambia Tourism Board. Adama, can you expand on that?
Like you already said, we have the first flight from TUI. It's from Holland, and it has 176 passengers on board. This is actually good for the Gambia, and I think what I can do as an update is that we're going to have 5 flights from TUI from Holland. And of course, if you want to actually include the TUI brand from Belgium, you're going to have 7 flights a week, which I think is a good signal for the commencement of the season.
Naturally, when countries or a destination suffers such a political impact that has happened in the Gambia, or the last outbreak of Ebola, which though we were not infected, but we are affected, as I always say, it takes a minimum of 3 years for a comeback. Last year at this time, before the impasse, our expectations were 28 flights on a weekly basis. As we speak today, our weekly flight stands at 49 flights a week.
Wow, not the 46 which was projected.
There is another additional 3 flights last week. And we are hoping there is more additional flights coming in.
Have you been coming here before?
Yes, we did.
How many times?
Just once. It's a nice country and friendly people.
For the first time in Gambia.
First time in Gambia.
And we like the weather.
Aside from the weather, what else?
The people.
Let's talk to a few more and see.
My name is Ronald.
Ronald?
Yeah.
Are you coming to the Gambia? Is this the first time?
Yes, first time. Yeah.
Why did you choose to come to the Gambia?
Just came up as an ID. That's why, as a holiday. For a few years back, I had the idea to come here, but then it didn't work, and now we got the idea again, and so we eventually made it happen, something like that.
The idea did not die out.
No, it didn't die out. No.
I can tell you, hitting 500,000 with the plans that are in place right now, together with the hotels that are coming on with 5 stars, and some of the tour operators that are really thinking of increasing all year round, we have no doubt. You might think it's impossible, but it is definitely possible. We're talking about 2070. We have 3 years to go, right? Which is 2020. It's definitely achievable, and I can tell you, with the new government, together with our Minister of Tourism and Culture, and of course the stakeholders, I think everybody's pushing for us to achieve our target. And we want to see all year round tourism. I can tell you, we are on track.
National Enterprise Development Initiative NEDI, in partnership with Kodo Mobile Money Services, powered by QCell, have signed a memorandum of understanding meant to accelerate financial expansion in the country. Mariam Abaldo picks up the rest of the story.
The ceremony was held at the QCell head office along Kairaba Avenue. Speaking at the ceremony, the General Manager of National Enterprise Development Initiative, Landon B. Sanes, said their mandate is to support youth entrepreneurship and employment. He maintained that the Kodo mobile money services have potential to create employment opportunities for the youths.
Found Kodo to be the service that the young people will always welcome. And that is why we couldn't relent to take our rightful position to make sure that this partnership moves to fruition. And I think that is exactly what is going on. We are very much confident that our young people will not relent as well to utilize the benefits that this partnership will bring to their doorsteps.
The head of Kodo Mobile Money Services, Sirandau, said low level of financial literacy and access to financial services are factors that affect the country's economic growth.
In 2013, a study commissioned by the Ministry of Trade and SDF showed that there were just under 100,000 MSMEs, that's micro, small, and medium enterprises in the formal and informal sector in the country, employing just over 2,000 workers. Out of this, 41% of the enterprises were owned by youth within the age bracket of 18 to 35 years. 34% of these enterprises were owned by women. Now, these figures do not include agricultural products. At that time, when they did the study, they did not include agricultural product enterprises. Given that our GDP consists of about 1/3 of agriculture, you can imagine how other numbers would look like if those products were, if those enterprises were included. And we fast forward to 2017 with a population growth rate of, I think, about 3% since as of last year. What this basically means that the number of SMEs, as we can shorten it for, in the formal and informal sector in the Gambia are huge, and they are really the backbone of our economy.
The Chief Technical Officer of QCell, Jayamani Kati, lauded the initiative, saying it will boost financial inclusion in the country.
The most important thing this marriage is going to drive is because it's going to address two important sectors, youth and the women. Because if it's going to enable youth and the women, I think more than 70% of the population is taken care of. This marriage is going to solve social injustices through technology, because by rendering the so-called loan sharks irrelevant.
Reporting for the news, I am Mariama Balde.
We'll be back with sports news right after this break. Do stay with us.
Imagine your staff not having to worry about having credit when they need to make an important work-related call. Well, QCell's Closed User Group service gives you and them that peace of mind. QCell's Closed User Group CUG is an affordable and efficient way for businesses and organizations to reduce their communications costs whilst increasing efficiency at the same time. Whether your business is small, medium, or large, the QCell's Closed User Group service has different packages to suit your budget and gives you a choice of plans that can include a QCell SIM card and Samsung mobile phones, or just a SIM card. You can get the QCell CUG service for as low as $100 a month per user for unlimited calls within your closed user group. Call our CUG sales team today on 333-3127. That's 333-3127, and they will visit your office to highlight the great range of plans and mobiles. QCell's Closed User Group, making communications easier. QCell, Sunyu Sim, Sunyu Boss. We innovate, others follow.
Welcome back. In sports, the wife of the president, Lady Sajon Barrow, has witnessed a football tournament final that was named after her. The final, which took place in Bakadaji, drew scores of spectators and dignitaries. Sedu Kamra has more in this report.
Whilst joining to the finals of a football tournament named after her, Lady Sajon Barrow made a brief stop at the Basse Military Barracks to participate in a tree planting exercise. After the exercise, the tour party traveled to Bagadaji, where she was received with a great ambience at the village entrance leading to the football field, where the finals took place. Shortly before the kickoff, Lady Sajon Barrow addressed the gathering and football teams, acknowledging the roles young people play in nation building.
The youth are the present and our future, and must therefore be supported by all means. The youth of the Gambia ought to be raised carefully into the adult world with a vision and passion for development. For this reason, I wish to conclude by pointing out that teams playing against each other here today will not leave this tournament as winners and losers.
Here she kickstart the football final opening a delightful encounter between this year's finalists in Bagadaji. Gambisara and Sotuma Sambakoi are the finalists, making it to the very last stage of a tournament which attracted 16 teams. Gambisara Sabajamu dominated the game. Sotuma denied them a goal throughout the first half of the game. In the second half, the visitor Gambisara took a quick lead in the 8th minute through Abdullah Toure. Gambisara Sabanjamu were eventually crowned champions of the 2017 Lady Saja Bala Barrow football tournament. Both coaches expressed delight and appreciation for the presence of Lady Bala Barrow and praised the support she is providing to develop sports and youth initiative in the area.
I'm very, very happy because of the football is so nice. My guys, they play very well.
The 16 teams each received $2,500, the runner-ups $20,000, and the cup winner $40,000. Youth and Sport Minister Henry Gomez expressed satisfaction with the performance displayed in the final.
I said nowadays the stars are in the regions. We have to go and look for them. But what we saw today is an example of if Paul doesn't go to the mountain will go to Paul.
All teams went home satisfied after receiving football materials and cash prizes, brightly crowning this year's champion in the Lady Saja Bala Barrow football tournament. Saido Kamara, GRTS News.
Over now to the internationals. President Mohamed Abdullah Farmajo is visiting several African countries to seek support in the war against terror. President Farmajo will be meeting several African leaders who already have troops in Somalia to strategize on the upcoming offensive. CGTN's Abdul Aziz Bilo has more from Mogadishu.
These soldiers are part of a team expected to push Al-Shabaab out of its strongholds in southern Somalia. And the visit by the Commander-in-Chief is viewed as one aimed at assuring of the federal government's support in the battle ahead. President Mohamed Abdullah Farmajo has declared a state of war against the militant group that it accused of carrying out the country's biggest attack that killed 358 people.
I assure you that we will win this war. I will personally be there at the battlefront to risk my life just as you all do. The Somali public will also play its role in ensuring our victory. We all took an oath to protect and defend the integrity of this country, and you are the soldiers expected to lead this offensive.
Exactly a month after taking office in February, President Farmajo instructed his top generals to eliminate the group within 2 years, to allow his government to exert authorities across the country. But faced with immense challenges, the army hasn't done well in the battlefield, losing most recently 17 soldiers in one of its key bases in Barire after it was overrun by Al-Shabaab fighters. The president has since embarked on a 3-nation tour, namely Uganda, Djibouti and Ethiopia, 3 of the countries contributing troops for AMISOM to boost his forces in the upcoming offensive.
The Somali army and other various security agencies will be on the front line against Al-Shabaab. Our mandate is to ensure that the public remains safe and to avoid another October 14th incident.
Military-grade and homemade explosives is believed to have been used in the 14th October attack at KM5, the city's busiest junction, raising questions as to how the militant group acquired such weapons. Experts, however, say successive attacks by Al-Shabaab overrunning African Union bases might have boosted the group's attacking capabilities after the group seized military vehicles, ammunition and firearms. And for years now, AMISOM troops have been unable to dislodge Al-Shabaab fighters from Lower Shabelle, a rich agricultural region that's now the epicenter of the ongoing conflict. An improvement in security was among President Farmajo's key campaign pledges earlier this year. And as he seeks to wage one of the biggest offensives here in recent years, experts say that the militant group will be seeking ways to undermine any military gains currently made on the ground. Mogadishu will also be relying much on US firepower that has in the past neutralized the group's senior commanders who are trying to topple the government for the past decade now. Abdul Aziz.
And that brings us to the end of the news, but before we take leave of you, a recap of the day's main stories. 3 new ambassadors have presented their letters of credence to His Excellency President Adama Barrow. More tourist flights jet into Banjul as the new tourist season swings into action. Somali President Mohamed Abdallah Farmajo is touring the Horn of Africa in the wake of the deadly bomb blast in Mogadishu. And authorities in Lagos have unveiled a statue in memory of Afrobeat legend Fela Anikulapo Kuti. Well, that was all in this edition of the news. Thanks for the pleasure of your company, and do have a very pleasant evening.